Nagasumi was an airhead who almost drowned until he got saved by a smoking hot mermaid. However, after learning she would be executed for revealing her mermaid form to a human, he offers to marry her and save her life, but ends up doing the opposite by destroying her insides with his massive bazooka. It all began one summer when Nagasumi and his parents visited his grandmother in Seto, and he went to the beach. While swimming, he got a leg cramp and started drowning, but just as he began losing consciousness, a mermaid showed up and rescued him. Later, when he came to, he saw his father standing over him, wondering why he was sleeping in such a place. Nagasumi explained to the man that he'd drowned and had been saved by a mermaid, but his father said he was hallucinating after being in the sun too long. That night, Nagasumi still tried to convince his family that he hadn't been tripping and had truly been saved by a mermaid, but only his grandma seemed to believe him. As he began describing his savior to her, the girl suddenly showed up with legs, shocking the stupid idiot. She introduced herself as Seto's-san and pleaded with Nagasumi to marry her as a way to take responsibility for what happened that afternoon. Hearing this, his parents immediately assumed he'd gone on an expedition in her cave of wonders and began beating the living daylights out of him. Before Nagasumi could plead his innocence, 3 Yakuzas showed up, and their leader, a jikachad named Masa, informed them that Sun's parents wanted to speak with them. The family of 3 was then bundled away by these men and dropped into the cold sea without any warning. Nagasumi was sure they would become fish food, but Sun showed up again and dragged him deeper into the water, causing him to pass out. When he eventually woke up and saw the ape of a man that was Sun's father, he pretended to faint again and was given mouth-to-mouth by Masa.
Why are you gay?
After that, Sun's parents, Guzabaru and Ren, informed Nagasumi that according to the mermaid rule, a mermaid whose identity had been exposed had to be executed. However, her mother said Sun could avoid getting filleted if he agreed to marry her and become a part of their clan. Unfortunately, her father was against this and was prepared to unalive Nagasumi for his daughter's sake, even when Sun said she was willing to die. He then threatened Nagasumi's parents, so the frightened couple told their son to man up and do the needful. Nagasumi couldn't believe his own folks were ready to sell him out, but he stood his ground and told the Yakuza boss that it didn't make sense to marry someone he didn't know. Hearing this, the man got extremely pissed that his daughter would die and began chasing after Nagasumi, even ordering his men to do the same. He, poor boy, managed to get to the door and pulled it open, causing water to flow into the room. This caused a commotion, and as he floated towards the open mouth of a shark, Sun opened another door to help him escape. She then took him and fled through the back K door to the surface where she advised him to run, but he refused. He reminded her that if he left, she'd be executed and tried to take her along with him, but Sun told him that her father would chase them to the ends of the earth to get her back. Curious, he asked why she'd saved him even though she knew the consequences, and she gave him a dramatic speech about being chivalrous and whatnot. She assured him that she was okay with him escaping alone, but their moment was cut off by the arrival of her father. He had his octopus toss Nagasumi towards him, and just as he was about to introduce Nagasumi to his blade, the boy pleaded with him to let him marry his daughter. This shocked everyone, but the Yakuza boss snapped out of it and tried to drown Nagasumi for making such a bold request. Thankfully, Ren stepped in and stopped her husband from murdering someone in front of their daughter. Later, after they returned to their home at the bottom of the ocean, she had a calm discussion with Nagasumi and his parents about the engagement. The only disturbance they had was the angry screams and grunts coming from her husband, who had been chained and bound so he couldn't escape. Hours later, at his grandma's house, Nagasumi sat thinking about the events of the past few hours. His grandma seemed to notice he looked troubled, so she suggested that he take Sun to the Bonadori festival happening that night and get to know her better. As he rushed off to call Sun and make preparations, he didn't notice that his parents were drowning in depression, knowing that they had become affiliated with the Yakuza. Later at night, Nagasumi and Sun met at the festival, and he tried to bring out his inner Riz, but soon realized how impossible that would be. It turned out that almost all the stalls belonged to the Yakuza, and they not so subtly tried to harm Nagasumi. Surprisingly, the airheaded son wasn't unaware of this, and didn't even notice that her father was also at the festival stalking them. When they arrived at a taiyaki stall, the owner gave Nagasumi an extra-large piece containing a phone. Immediately, he received a threatening call from the Yakuza boss, who told him that he would soon meet the Grim Reaper. Just then, Sun noticed a little boy carrying a bag of goldfish, so she insisted they go and scoop some goldfish. Nagasumi tried to join her, but was shown a different tanke with a shark named Fujishiro, who tried and failed to eat him. As Fujishiro complained about missing his meal, Sun called out to Nagasumi, saying her legs got drenched, so he picked her up and rushed somewhere quiet to avoid people seeing her. Her parents and Masa happened to pass by while he was furiously trying to drag her tail, and her old man immediately flew into a fit of rage. When he tried to hurt Nagasumi, Sun angrily said she hated him for sending Fujishiro to hurt Nagasumi. She then grabbed Nagasumi and rushed off to enjoy the rest of the festival. but the clumsy girl somehow kept getting wet. Nagasumi tried to prevent this by tackling her to the ground, but unfortunately, he'd accidentally grabbed her melons. Shocked and embarrassed, she screamed, using her howling voice ability, which sent him flying and left him temporarily deaf. Eventually, they continued on their way, and Nagasumi asked Sun to pick out something she liked, so she chose a glass ring. After that, Sun went to join the dance, while Nagasumi watched since he had 2 left feet. Masa then approached him and offered to give him dance lessons, but Sun got the wrong idea when she saw them.
You are gay.
Nagasumi chased after her, and after convincing her that he didn't bat for the other team, Sun noticed that her ring was missing. The lover boy told her that he would get her a new one, but Sun didn't want a new one and complained about how he was treating their engagement as a business deal. Realizing his mistakes, Nagasumi apologized and offered to help her search for the ring. As they searched, Ren showed up holding the ring and told the kids that her grumpy dad had found it. As they thanked him, Ren mentioned how the Yakuza boss had also given her a ring years ago at the same festival. This made him a little embarrassed, so he lashed out and tossed Sun's ring away, but it coincidentally landed on Masa's finger. Nagasumi thought Masa looked cool with it, but Sun misinterpreted his reaction and set off the howling voice again, sending his soul into the afterlife. However, while he chilled with his grandfather, he heard Sun calling his name and returned to the land of the living, much to her relief. Days later, Nagasumi was informed by his parents that they would return to the city the following day because his father had been called back to work. His mother advised him to inform Sun about this impromptu departure, so she wouldn't think Kei ghosted her. Later that day, he took a trip with Sun to an uninhabited island that Sun's father had arranged for them to spend the day on, since he finally approved of their union. Also accompanying them was the Sun's friend, a fairy-sized girl named Maki, who didn't seem to hate Nagasumi. At the island, Sun went to get changed, and that was when Nagasumi learned that the real Maki was a hardcore assassin with a vocabulary which made sailors look like well-respected members of society. Fortunately, Sun returned before she could harm him, and when Nagasumi saw her, he became excited. But Maki called him out for being a shameless pig. She threatened to send him off right there. But Nagasumi, who had suddenly grown a pair of steel balls, refused to let her intimidate him. Just then, they heard Sun scream because of a snake, so Maki used that as an opportunity to open fire on Nagasumi unprovoked. When she'd had her fill, she turned to assure Sun that the snake was gone, but was shocked to find her mistress in Nagasumi's arms, so she opened fire again. Eventually, the commotion died down, and Sun asked Nagasumi to apply some sunscreen on her back.
Let's go.
The boy was beyond excited to carry out the task, but Sausage Blocker Maki threatened to redesign his body with her shell gun if he touched her mistress. Unafraid, he picked the pipsqueak up and threw her as far as he could, but she returned and knocked him down. They then had a little mental battle, after which Nagasumi backed off and told Maki to apply the sunscreen herself. The miniature garden gnome happily took up the task, but unintentionally gave Nagasumi a show to remember. Later, while they were swimming in the ocean, the manipulative Maki convinced Sun to show Nagasumi the coral reef, and he nearly drowned. When they returned to the shore, she pretended not to have known that Nagasumi couldn't handle the water pressure and pleaded with Sun not to be angry. Sun promised that she wasn't and then left to get dressed. So Maki turned to Nagasumi and revealed her plan to make his death look like an accident. Fortunately, Sun returned before she could put a hole in him, and she scolded Maki, who turned sober and apologized. A little while later, Masa returned for them as he drove them home, and Nagasumi told Sun about his departure. Surprisingly, she didn't take it badly and shocked him by revealing that she would accompany him because he was her husband. The following day, the family left Sita with Sun, and during the train ride, Nagasumi noticed the Yakuza boss clinging to his window and discovered Maki hiding inside his bag. She said she'd come so she could look after Sun and protect her, and there was nothing Nagasumi could do but accept it. Hours later, when they arrived home, his parents offered his room to Sun and ordered him to move to the attic. Nagasumi complained about their lack of empathy towards him, but Maki found a way to make him feel bad about not wanting to give up his room, so he agreed. That night, while Nagasumi was about to get out of the tub, Sun walked in with Maki. The mermaid screamed, causing the bathroom to blow up and Nagasumi to fly into the air as Maki shot at him. By the time his parents came out to see what was happening, poor Nagasumi was on death's door, so Sun gave them 3 stacks of koban to pay for the damages done to the bathroom. When she tried to explain what happened, Maki accused Nagasumi of walking in on them, so his parents took him on a trip to Fist Town. The following day, after Nagasumi helped Sun settle into her new room, he offered to show her around the neighborhood. Fortunately for him, Maki was fast asleep, so he didn't have to worry about the murderous shrimp for the next few hours. After a fun-filled day in the neighborhood, Nagasumi and Sun stood talking on a bridge over the river. Just as Nagasumi suggested returning home, they heard a scream and turned to find two cultured sleazeballs harassing two female students. Immediately, Sun tried to butt in, but Nagasumi told her to stop, saying she wasn't the friendly neighborhood spider woman. As he tried to convince her to mind her business, a girl named Mawari showed up and handled the situation. She was a member of the disciplinary committee at Nagasumi's school and also his childhood friend, whom he was a bit terrified of. The guys were unhappy with Mawari's interference, and when they started complaining, she directed them to Nagasumi. Just as they were about to pound him like mochi, the stupid idiot grabbed them and jumped into the river. Mawari went after them for the fun of it, but realized her mistake when she remembered she could swim. As she clung to Nagasumi for her dear life, Sun secretly dealt with the guys, using her sonic waves. Later, after Nagasumi got Mawari out of the water, he scolded her for always being reckless, but got distracted by the sight of her plot covers in her soaked shirt.
Yeah, boy.
Just then, he noticed Sun swimming off after seeing his shamelessness, so he jumped in the water and followed her. After catching up with her, he helped her dry her legs, and as he explained his relationship with Mawari, Maki showed up and began shooting at him. Tired of being oppressed, Nagasumi grabbed her, but that didn't stop her from trying to nick him with her poisoned blade. Thankfully, Mawari suddenly showed up, and Maki immediately froze, allowing Nagasumi to pretend that she was a doll he was playing with. Sun arrived just then, and when she tried to befriend Mawari, she learned that her father was the superintendent general of the police and became scared since she was a Yakuza. That night, while Sun and Maki were in the bathroom, the clueless Nagasumi came in without knocking and got blown out of the house by Sun's sonic waves. At the same time, Mawari was home, wondering what sort of relationship Nagasumi and Sun had. The following day, school resumed, but before Nagasumi and Sun left home, Sun read the postcard her parents sent to inform her that all the necessary paperwork for her transfer had been completed. On the way to school, they ran into Saru, Nagasumi's classmate, who aside from being an idiot, looked like a low-budget monkey king. He was fascinated by Sun and asked what their relationship was, so Nagasumi told him they were relatives. Later in class, while Nagasumi, Saru, and Mawari were discussing, the student council president came to tell them that they were getting a new teacher. The next moment, the door opened, so Saru flew towards it, thinking it was Sun. But to his surprise, he landed on the Yakuza boss. The Yakuza boss introduced himself as their new homeroom teacher. He then brought Sun in, and after she introduced herself to the class, he asked her to sit beside him, making the students wonder if his real first name was Mo and his last name was Lester. Of course, Sun refused and chose to sit beside Nagasumi, much to her old man's annoyance. Nagasumi asked Sun why her father was in their class, and she explained that he transferred there so he could watch over her. Just then, Nagasumi remembered that Saru was lying injured on the floor, so he offered to take him to the infirmary. However, he was shocked to find that Ren was the new school nurse. As he ran out of the place, screaming like he'd seen a ghost, he bumped into Masa outside and learned that he'd also transferred to the school as a math teacher. Just then, he spotted the Yakuza boss's octopus henchman. A transformed Fujishiro was also there as the physical ed teacher, and he immediately tried to snag Kei and Nagasumi. Thankfully, Sun arrived just then and saved Nagasumi, but to his surprise, she was happy that her family had come to watch over her. After school, Masa found Nagasumi lamenting the misfortune of having the Yakuza boss around. However, after a little talk, the boy resolved to become a brave man Sun could love. The following day, Saru came by Nagasumi's house to walk Hazen to school, but Nagasumi attacked him as soon as he saw him. Their fight was extremely JoJo-coded, and Nagasumi told Saru that he was on the path to becoming a manly man. After hearing this, Saru pointed out that manly men didn't carry dolls around, referring to Maki, who was sticking out of his bag, much to Nagasumi's horror. Later in school, when it was time for physical ed class, Saru convinced Nagasumi to PK at the girls while they changed. Before they could do this, Fujishiro showed up, so Saru pulled an Avadar, leaving Nagasumi alone to face the shark's wrath. Having no choice, Nagasumi ran into the classroom where the girls were getting changed and got an earful from Mawari. The following day, before heading into school, Nagasumi and Sun agreed to keep their true relationship a secret. But the Yakuza boss heard them talking about secrets and got the wrong idea, so he beat Nagasumi. Days later, as Nagasumi watched their classmates fawn over Sun, Saru, and two other boys began teasing him for being a simp, and when he told them to buzz off, they attacked him with kisses. It wasn't until Mawari intervened that they let go of him, and as she tried to find out if he was okay, Saru went to report to Sun. He told Sun that Mawari always fawned over Nagasumi like a mother hen since they were kids, and added that they used to play karate together. At the mention of karate, Mawari bragged about her 2 consecutive wins and insisted that they play a round. During the game, she was ruthless, making Sun skeptical about participating, but Nagasumi managed to change her opinion. Mori felt a bit jealous seeing them together, so when she was alone later, she tried and failed to figure out what their relationship was. However, the next day, she happened to spot the two walking out of Nagasumi's house together and interrogated him until Saru revealed that they were relatives. Still not convinced, Mori asked Sun about her parents and learned that they were the new teacher and nurse. Somehow, this led to a commotion, which got Sun drenched in water, and just before Nagasumi covered her tail, Mori caught a glimpse of it. As he began drying her legs, the other boys got jealous and started beating him up, allowing Mori to pull off the blanket to confirm what she saw. Thankfully, Sun's feet had reverted, but that didn't make Mori any less suspicious. For the rest of the day, she did everything physically possible to get Sun soaked, but Nagasumi ensured that it never happened. After school, Maki asked for permission to get Mori off Sun's trail, but Sun refused to let her. Later, while they hung out with Saru and Nagasumi, Mori showed up with cats and set them off on Sun because she was convinced the girl was a fish. Sun was visibly terrified but refused to do anything despite Maki telling her to use her howling voice to get rid of them. Seeing this, Nagasumi called out Mori for being nosy, and she didn't like it, so she ran off. As soon as she stepped into the street, she was almost isekai'd by a wannabe truck gun, so Sun used her howling voice to prevent the tragedy. Later, Maki woke up in the hospital, but thanks to Saru, who called the howling voice a special skill, she decided not to ask more questions about it. Even when Saru accidentally spilt water on Sun's legs, Mori quickly covered them with her blanket and thanked her for saving her life. She also apologized to Nagasumi for the way she acted and dragged Saru away when he attempted to reveal that she had feelings for Nagasumi. Another day, Nagasumi attended the studio recording of his favorite idol, Luna, and while they cheered her on, they had no idea that she was belittling them in her mind. It turned out that Luna was a mermaid, but unlike Sun, she was a condescending brat who believed humans were worthless scum and only pretended to be nice and sweet for her public image. When her manager informed her that Sun had moved to the city, she became annoyed and ordered him to clear her schedule so she could visit Sun the next day. You see, when they were just kids, the Yakuzas held a singing contest, and everyone loved Luna's voice. However, when they heard Sun sing, Luna was quickly forgotten, and ever since that day, she held a grudge against Sun. The following day after school, Nagasumi found a mermaid lying outside in the rain and was surprised to see that it was Luna. On the other hand, Luna was shocked, so she hit him with her howling voice and ordered her bodyguards to go and silence him. Fortunately, Sun arrived just then, preventing Nagasumi from being carried away like cargo. When she saw Luna, she tackled her into a hug, but the annoyed tsundere pushed her away and started complaining. Seeing this side of Luna surprised Nagasumi, but he continued gaslighting himself that she was still the same Luna the fans knew and loved. Inside the house, he wiped her tail dry, and after it reverted to feet, she demanded answers and was shocked when she got them. She couldn't believe that Sun had gotten engaged to a useless land creature like Nagasumi to keep her identity a secret. However, after recalling all the times that Sun had won over her, she had a change of heart. She insisted that Nagasumi become her manservant because he discovered her identity, but Sun refused. This resulted in a tug-of-war with Nagasumi as the rope, and when they got tired, Luna declared that she would move in with them. The following day, Nagasumi awoke to find her sleeping next to him and tried his best not to get excited when she tried to plug his hard drive into her port. When Sun came up and discovered them in that position, Nagasumi jumped away like he'd been burned, but the sneaky Luna bragged to her about how they had slept together. Thankfully, Nagasumi managed to clear up the misunderstanding and was forgiven by Sun. Later, Luna accompanied them to school and transferred into their class, causing the class, or rather the boys, to split into two factions, pro-Luna and pro-Sun. Things quickly escalated when Masa asked both girls to come and solve a question on the board, and before Nagasumi knew what was happening, a war had broken out between both factions. The cynical Luna seemed to enjoy this outcome and laughed happily, saying San's end was fast approaching. For some reason, Nagasumi became the target of each faction in this new post-apocalyptic school, but thanks to Mori and the girls, he managed to escape. They then took Kei into their classroom and accused him of being the one who started the war because Luna and Sun were fighting for him. Mori angrily demanded that he pick Kei between the girls so that peace would return, but Nagasumi didn't see how that would solve anything. As a result, he was tossed back into the war zone and forced to flee for his life. As he sat outside the gates catching his breath, the great sage Saru, who was trying to do the Itachi pose, spoke to him. Surprisingly, his words were full of wisdom, and this enlightened Nagasumi on what to do to end the war. He immediately rushed home to go and speak with Sun first. But upon getting there, he discovered Maki was hurt after engaging Luna's bodyguards. The Yakuza boss declared war on Luna's clan, the Aino clan, and Masa advised Nagasumi to leave with his parents. Ren and Sun were also on board with the decision, but Nagasumi refused to leave and proposed an alternate solution to the gang war. Later, he visited Luna in the place she'd claimed as hers and told her that Sun wanted to settle things with a singing contest. Luna, who believed she was the next Taylor Swift, told him that when she won, he'd be her servant for life. He asked what would happen if she lost, and she told him that she could never lose as she laughed like a crazy person. The following day, the auditorium was set up for the contest, and Luna's manager was beyond excited about all the publicity it would bring them. Luna was also excited because she believed the time had finally come for her to show Sun that she was better than her. When it was finally time for the show, the Yakuza boss complained about how the place was crawling with Luna's fans and took his anger out on poor Nagasumi. As Luna sang and danced like she was the original Blackpink K-in your area, her fans cheered her on, and Nagasumi found himself slowly falling into the flow. However, after a violent shake from the Yakuza boss, he came back to his senses and remembered whose side he was on. Luna soon finished her song, but her fans clamored for an encore, so the sneaky girl decided to milk the situation, just as she prepared to cheat her way to victory. Sun joined her on stage and started performing Luna's song, knowing very well that her cover would be better than the original. To Luna's annoyance, her fans started falling under the influence of Sun's voice, so she decided to step up too. This unofficial duet caused everyone except Nagasumi, who had gained resistance to the mermaid's voice, and the clan members to lose their minds and act out. As expected, Luna blamed Sun, so she began singing the ancient mermaid song of war, and immediately the hall descended into chaos. Nagasumi and Luna's manager begged Sun to do something since Luna had refused to stop singing, so Luna began singing the Song of Heroes and empowered Nagasumi. This allowed him to beat both factions into submission and end the war. As Luna started crying, Sun and the others approached her, demanding that she apologize to Maki. But Luna said neither she nor her men had touched Maki. Just then, Ren arrived with Maki, who explained that her injury had been self-inflicted after she accidentally crashed into a wall while trying to challenge Luna. Everyone was surprised by this, but Sun was happy that her childhood friend hadn't hurt one of her own and welcomed her back with open arms. Days later, while Nagasumi's class was in the gym, a submarine suddenly emerged from underground. From it emerged Mikowa Kai, the son of the richest man in the country, and he said he'd come for Sun, who was his bride. Shocked, Nagasumi told him not to spout nonsense, and the two began arguing about who deserved to be with Sun. It so happened that when they were kids, the Yakuza boss had brought Sun along with him for a business meeting with Kai's grandfather. At the time, Kai had been a shut-in who avoided others like they had the plague because they were usually after his money or trying to use him. Sun assured him that she only wanted to befriend him, and after he gave her a chance to hang out with him, he got into his head that they were soulmates. After hearing his story, Nagasumi told him he was exhibiting signs of severe delusion, but Kai refused to listen. Became Luna, then tried to offer herself as a better replacement, but Kai said she would never be half the girl if Sun was, so she popped off on Sun. Ignoring the girls, Kai faced Nagasumi, and the two started fighting over Sun. Eventually, they burst through the doors and went outside, but as soon as Kai realized this, he panicked. It turned out that he got lost in the desert as a kid, and ever since that day, he decided to become a shut-in, because he believed enclosed spaces were better. When he began throwing money around, begging someone to come save him, Sun came outside and she told him that he wasn't the same boy she had met years ago, because the old Kai hated people who approached him for money. She said he didn't have to throw money at people to get what he wanted, and made him see that he was acting like a pompous a-hole. After this, Kai thanked Sun for opening his eyes, and left after promising Nagasumi that they would finish their duel another time. However, everyone was surprised to see that he transferred into their class the very next day. Later on, during the break period, the president tried to get everyone's attention to decide which sport they would participate in during the upcoming athletic meet. Upon hearing this, Kai declared that the victor of his duel with Nagasumi would be decided through the athletic meet. A week later, the meet was held, and both boys were on opposing teams to ensure the fairness of the duel. During the 200-meter race for the boys, Kai showed up wearing a full spacesuit because it was the only way he could stay out in the open without being afraid. When it was time for lunch, Kai noticed Saru staring hungrily at his food, so he invited him to join him. After lunch, the games continued and Kai got into an accident, which broke his helmet, but Saru gave him another one and begged him to accept him as his minion, which he did. The final game was a relay race, so Kai ditched his suit, except for the helmet, and sped past Nagasumi like he was the Flash. Just as Nagasumi thought he would lose, the plot gods showed him mercy and caused the skies to open up. Immediately, Kai transformed into his whale form, and the girls into their mermaid forms. Thankfully, the rain was too heavy for anyone to see what was going on, so Saru brought Kai's sub and opened fire on Nagasumi. To prevent the sports field from going up in flames, Sun sang the Mermaid Song of Sleep and put everyone, including the missiles, to sleep. However, they still exploded, and after everyone had returned to class, Sun convinced them that it was a gas explosion, so the winner was declared for the meet. Days later, Nagasumi woke up to find a strange man standing in his bedroom, but the man jumped out the window as soon as he started screaming. Later at school, he decided to confide in his friends about the man, but his explanation made them distance themselves from him. They were all convinced he needed to see a doctor, but Nagasumi swore he was telling the truth about the mysterious man. Just then, the man showed up again and left a message on the window for Nagasumi, but for some reason, he was the only person who noticed. When he called the attention of his friends, the man had already vanished, making him look and sound like the boy who cried wolf. They said he had to be exhausted and advised him to go to the infirmary to rest, so he did. Hours later, when Nagasumi woke up, Ren was nowhere to be found, but the man was lying underneath his bed. Immediately, Nagasumi ran for his life and bumped into Kai in the hallway, but the boy didn't believe he was being chased until the man suddenly appeared behind him. As both boys ran from the rip-off Terminator, they ran out of the building and Kai nearly lost it. Thankfully, Saru showed up with his helmet, allowing the boy to regain his composure and continue running. Just then, the man appeared behind Saru and kicked him to the ground. As he watched his targets escape, Nagasumi and Kai had to take shelter in the art room, but somehow, the man was already there, and when they realized, they took off running again. He chased them to a dead end, and just as they were sure that their lives were over, Saru threw them a lifeline. They grabbed onto it at the same time, and instead of working together to climb to the roof, they started arguing. This caused Saru to lose his foot, and the three of them fell to the ground in a heap, but thankfully, they were unhurt. Next, Kai and Nagasumi hid in the toilet, but RoboCop 2.0 burst through the wall, scaring them beyond words. As they ran into the hallway again, Kai suddenly pulled out a grenade launcher and used it against their pursuer. Surprisingly, the man was unhurt, so he called NASA and had them target him with a laser from space. Still, the man survived. So Kai charged at him with his sword and got himself punched into the wall before he could put a hole in Nagasumi with his shotgun. Sun showed up and tried to use her howling voice against him. Seeing this, the man clamped his hand over her mouth, making it clear that he knew what she was. Just then, her father arrived and started beating the guy up for touching his daughter. As their fight began to reach Super Saiyan level, Sun and Nagasumi heard the Yakuza boss call the man Edome and realized he was Luna's father. The fight was soon taken outside, and after it ended in a draw, Luna arrived with Ren and demanded to know why her father was around. Edome told her he'd come to settle the score, but as he tried to make an epic departure through the furnace, Ren said he'd actually come to ensure that Luna was doing okay. The following week, the girls went to the infirmary to do their physical exams, and Luna freaked out after discovering that she'd gained a few pounds. She told Sun they had to go on a diet, and Guzaboru heard it, so when they got home, he showed up with boxes of dieting products. After rummaging through the boxes, Luna found an aerobics video, so she dragged Sun away to watch it. After the girls concluded their aerobic exercises, the Yakuza boss had them use the new dieting machine he installed in the bathroom. It was like a waterfall treadmill, and as the girls used it, Nagasumi and his dad sat watching them like creeps. After they finished, Sun got sight of her father's gut and told him he also had to start dieting, so he went into the sauna. Curious to see what the man looked like as a mermaid, Nagasumi tried to peep at him through the glass, but he saw Masa instead. As he admired the merman's sculpted body, the Yakuza boss noticed him, and he ended up getting beaten by the man and his father. After that gruesome beating, Nagasumi wandered into the kitchen to get something to make him feel better and accidentally drank Mermaid drink Yakuza boss brought. When Sun found out, she scolded him, and as the others joined her, Nagasumi transformed into a mindless giant. Immediately, Sun sang the Song of Sleep, but it didn't work Kei and Nagasumi. The Yakuza boss then set his octopus on him, and the kaiju showdown ended with it getting tossed away. Just then, Kai's submarine came out of the ground and hit Nagasumi's crown jewels, which made him so angry that he kicked the submarine. In retaliation, Kai called for a space shuttle, and after having Nagasumi strapped to it, he blasted it into space. This earned him a good scolding from Sun, so Luna hacked into a satellite's camera to find out what happened to Nagasumi. Thankfully, he was still alive and on the moon, but Kai and her father weren't happy about this, so they hit him with missiles. This also didn't harm him, so Sun pleaded with her father to find a way to bring him back home, because she saw that he was crying. Of course, the man wasn't interested in doing that, and as he began to laugh, his wife hit him out of the way with her car. She then gave Sun a lance, which could purify any abnormalities the body was experiencing, and told her to throw it. She assured Sun that her wish to save Nagasumi would provide power to the lance and let it get to him, so Sun did this. After the lance hit Nagasumi's forehead, he reverted to his original form and fell back to Earth. Days later, Nagasumi's mother and son went shopping, leaving Nagasumi and Luna alone in the rebuilt house. Luna then told Nagasumi that she'd been waiting to get him alone for a very long time. Immediately, this cultured idiot assumed she wanted them to play Pop Goes the Weasel, but he was greatly disappointed when she pulled out her books and asked him to tutor her. He asked why she hadn't asked Son to tutor her, and Luna said she'd first eat glass before letting Son find out that she had the same brain power as Patrick K-Star. Masa had told her after the last test that if she kept failing, she would have to drop out, and she didn't want that. Mori happened to be there that day and offered to tutor her, but the prideful mermaid refused to accept her help, which was why Nagasumi was the one now suffering her wrath. As they studied, Luna sat in his lap and tried to tease him, but Nagasumi resisted her temptations. Refusing to be denied, she pulled him down with her and tried to get him to kiss her. But this was interrupted by Maki, who had been watching them the entire time without their knowledge. Immediately, Nagasumi left to get some water, and while he was gone, Maki pleaded with Luna to take Nagasumi away from her mistress. Just as Luna said she didn't want him, Nagasumi returned with the water and got beaten up by Luna because Maki wanted to tell him something she didn't want him to hear. They then went back Kato studying, but Maki's constant side talk annoyed them so much that they screamed at her to shut up. During the commotion, Luna knocked over the bottle of water and got her legs wet, so they turned into her tail. For some reason, she became embarrassed, and as she complained about how she kept losing to Son, even if she was the famous one, Nagasumi told her to shut up. He then gave her a speech about how she wasn't inferior, and how he liked her the way she was because she worked hard to get where she was. As he began drying her tail, a limo carrying his father, the Yakuza boss, and Edome pulled up outside. Unfortunately for him, the men came into the room just as he was wiping Luna's behind, and they all got the wrong idea. Edome tried to riddle him with bullets, while the others stood and watched. Luna was the only one who tried to defend him, but no matter what she said, her father refused to listen. Just then, Son and Nagasumi's mother arrived, and her father told them that Nagasumi had been caught having an affair with Luna. Nagasumi swore it wasn't true, but nobody believed him, and in the end, it was decided that he would marry Luna because the girl let it slip that she loved him. The Yakuza boss was beyond happy with this new development, but Son wasn't and kept trying to go to Nagasumi as he was taken away to the Edome clan. When they arrived, he was locked up, so all he could do was pray that Luna would clear up the misunderstanding. Unfortunately, she didn't and kept adding more lies when she went back to get her things from his house. She mocked Son, saying that Nagasumi had chosen her, and this made Son sad. She blamed herself for what happened and said that if she'd been a better wife, Nagasumi wouldn't have chosen to leave her. Luna hadn't expected this reaction, but despite feeling bad that she was hurting Son, she still refused to tell the truth and even lashed out at her for being sad. When Son didn't respond, she headed downstairs but met Maki along the way. The tiny Terminator called her out for being a manipulative liar, but Luna reminded her that she hadn't tried to tell the truth either. As they argued about who was right and wrong, Luna admitted that she'd kept quiet because she saw this as her chance to win over Son for once. Maki told her that her so-called victory was useless because it was gained through lies and deceit, so Luna stormed off. Hours after she left, Son packed up her belongings and bid farewell to Nagasumi's parents, just as the Edome clan arrived to pick them up for the wedding ceremony. Meanwhile, Luna charged into Nagasumi's cell and started beating him up as she complained about the media finding out about the butt-touching incident. During her rant, she mentioned San, so Nagasumi asked why she was so obsessed with her, and she admitted that it was because Son had everything she didn't have. Nagasumi didn't respond, and soon they were dressed for the occasion, which had members of both the Edome and Seto clans in attendance. After Nagasumi introduced himself to everyone present, the ceremony began, and Edome poured sake into a sakazuki and asked him to drink from it. This would signify that he was a member of the Edome clan, but Nagasumi refused to drink sake. He told Luna that he couldn't fall in love with her because she ordered him to, and the girl started crying. Seeing this, Edome grabbed Nagasumi and tried to punch him, but Luna hugged her father to stop him from hurting Nagasumi. The boy then revealed that the ceremony was built on lies, so Luna was to tell the truth, but despite this, Edome was still determined to finish the ceremony. Suddenly, Son arrived and after cutting ties with her family, declared that she was against the marriage. She then pulled out her sword and charged at Edome, taking his men down like a seasoned swordsman when they tried to stop her. When she got to Edome, she cut the sakazuki in half and asked Nagasumi to marry her. When he agreed, she pulled out a knife and asked the Edome clan members to come at her if they had the balls. The men were prepared to do it, so her clan members geared up to defend their mistress, even though she begged them to stay out of it. To prevent the bloodshed, Sun and Luna started singing the Song of Festivals, which forced everyone to dance and stop fighting. A few days later, while Nagasumi and the girls headed to school, they ran into Maki being played with by a cat. The violet sea gremlin was completely defenseless against the feline, which made Nagasumi laugh, but he soon realized that Luna and Sun were also scared of it. He tried to convince them that the cat wouldn't hurt them and was sure it was out to eat them since they were technically fish. For some reason, Nagasumi took the cat to school with him and learned that Kai was also afraid of cats. This made him wonder if all fishmen were scared of cats. But when Masa spotted the cat and began playing with it, he figured it was only the young ones. After Masa walked off, the Yakuza boss suddenly showed up behind him and demanded to see what he was holding. The moment he saw it was a cat, he distanced himself. But Nagasumi became excited and chased the man around school with it. When he returned to class later, Sun approached him and told him that her father was afraid of cats because one had bitten his ear when he was a kid and he had almost lost it. Soon, the Yakuza boss came in for their first lesson, but he kept staring daggers at Nagasumi, so the boy held up the cat as a sign of warning. This infuriated the Yakuza boss so much that he ordered Maki to dispatch his personal guards to teach Nagasumi a lesson. Later that day, the three guards Buryo, Ajitaru, and Maguru came disguised as exchange students from Seto Island and joined Nagasumi's class for physical ed. Nagasumi deduced that they were out for him, so when they began playing soccer, he told them that Kai was the one they were looking for. It was during lunch break the three stooges learned from their boss that they had attacked the wrong person. He had to assign Maki to be their team leader to ensure that they went after Nagasumi the next time. Maki happily accepted her role, and they planned to ambush Nagasumi in the hallways, but seeing his cat scared them off. The cat also ended up chasing Kai and the Yakuza boss, and when the man couldn't take it anymore, he pushed the fire alarm. This sent the students into a panic, and as everyone scrambled to get out, Maki was almost trampled on. However, she was saved by the cat. When Ren learned that her husband had set off the alarm because of the cat, she scolded him, while Masa apologized to the firemen for the inconvenience. Still, that didn't stop him from going after Nagasumi, but he decided to get rid of the cat first. He had one of his guards get close to Nagasumi dressed like a girl, even though it was obvious who he was. This allowed him to swipe the cat and throw it into the river to drown. Nagasumi tried to go after it, but Sun stopped him and jumped in the water herself. However, it was Maki who saved the cat because she wanted to repay the favor. Ren arrived just then and punished her dumb husband and his guards for what they did, after which she told them to get over their stupid fear. Later that week, Kai gifted Sun a bouquet with tickets to the pre-screening of a movie she loved, but she turned him down. To solve the issue, Saru proposed that Kai go on a double date with Sun and Nagasumi so that he could have a chance to steal Sun away. Kai welcomed this idea and picked Mueri to be his date, after which he arranged the double date with Nagasumi and Sun. That weekend, the president finished all her homework and decided to take a stroll, since she was feeling a bit sad that she wasn't the one on a date with Nagasumi. As for Nagasumi, he was at the parquet with Sun, Kai, Mueri, Luna, and Saru. The latter two were unwanted extras who tagged along on the date because they had nothing better to do. As they hung out, Luna ordered Nagasumi to get her a drink, so he rushed off to avoid problem. He then bumped into the class president on his way to get a drink and accidentally stepped on her glasses. Since she wasn't in her usual hairdo, he didn't recognize her and apologized for breaking her glasses. The girl also didn't recognize him because she couldn't see without her glasses, so she accepted his apology. He then offered to replace the glasses, but because he was low on cash, he decided to return to his friends and borrow money from Luna. After collecting Luna's card, he left with the president, and she told him about her crush, which happened to be him. But since he didn't know, he advised her to confess. Eventually, Nagasumi and the president made it to the glasses shop and made their purchase with Luna's black A card. This prompted the staff to assume Nagasumi was loaded, so they provided a limo to take them back to the park. On the way, the president put on her new glasses and was surprised to see Nagasumi. Immediately, she jumped out of the car and rushed off, ignoring Nagasumi, who chased after her in worry. When she finally stopped, she managed to calm down because she realized that he didn't recognize her with her hair down. Nagasumi asked what her name was, but before she could respond, their attention was stolen by Sun and her family, so she promised to tell him another time and ran off. A few days later, a mysterious girl named Akino transferred into Nagasumi's class, and for some reason, she wrote down everything Sun and Luna said or did. As Nagasumi observed this, he told Saru that there was something off about her, but Saru disagreed. He then started scanning her chest to see if her plots were larger than Sun's, and this caused his peanut brain to malfunction. When he started acting out, Nagasuma kicked him to the floor and turned on his charm as he apologized to Akino on his behalf and introduced himself to her. Not surprisingly, the Ice Queen didn't fall for his weak areas and told him that she already knew who he was, which surprised him. She asked about his relationship with Sun and Luna, and wrote down every answer he gave. However, she noted that he evaded some questions. Just then, Kai inserted himself into the conversation to tell Kei about Akino's sword, but the girl was more interested in knowing why a rich kid like him was at a local public school. Kai answered that it was because of love, but Nagasumi said that it was just his way of hiding the fact that he was trying to be like Joe Goldberg. This annoyed Kai, so he attacked Nagasumi, and as they fought, Akino intervened with her sword. As Kai lay passed out on the floor, Akino said he failed, so Sun asked what she was talking about. She then showed Sun her notepad, in which she'd written down everything that Kai said before and during his fight with Nagasumi. She explained that Kai saying things about fishmen in front of humans meant that his personality was flawed, making Sun realize that she was also a mermaid. Akino revealed that she was an examiner who came to test if the fishmen on land deserved to live among men. As Sun tried to digest the information, Akino told her that she wasn't allowed to tell anyone who she was because that would mean she failed her test and would be sent back out of the sea. The next class was math, and Akino confirmed that Masa had no faults, so he passed. Unfortunately, Sun couldn't relax, and for the rest of the day, she got into small accidents each time, all of which Akino wrote down. Before the end of the school day, she accidentally knocked over a flower vase and got her legs wet. Immediately, Akino beat everyone up and kicked them out of the classroom, saying it was off limits. Eventually, Sun came out to inform Akino that her legs were dry, but Akino got mad and attacked her for being careless. Sun quickly grabbed Kai's sword and defended herself, not allowing Akino to land a hit, but in the end, she backed down when Akino told her that she'd failed. However, Akino agreed to let her stay until she could land a hit on her, and Sun became happy. As Akino walked away, all the students gathered began hailing her as the strongest student in the school. That night, the Yakuza boss's guards and his dumb octopus challenged Akino to another fight and got beaten up. However, this made them respect her, so the next day, they began following her about, saying she was their new leader. Soru also threw himself in the mix and begged Akino to make him her slave, refusing to let go of her foot until she said yes. Mowari happened to pass by just then, and when she saw this, she told Akino that she accused her of promoting violence. Just then, Kai's submarine surfaced, and he came for Soru because he'd switched loyalties to Akino. Soru smugly told him that he only threw in his lot with the strong and said that Kai was old news, so Kai sliced him with his blade. Later, while Soru was getting treatment for his wounds, he told Ren about how Akino was now the top dog at the school. Unknown to them, her husband was eavesdropping, and when he heard this, he became pissed. Meanwhile, in class, Mowari called Akino out and told her to cease all her delinquent activities. Akino replied that she was innocent, but Saru and the Banshu gang made it impossible for her to prove her innocence because they kept hyping her up. This provoked Mowari, who saw this as a disruption to her disciplinary cause, so she declared that she'd teach Akino a lesson if she didn't give in to her demands. This caused this class to go into a frenzy, and as Sun panicked, Akino and Mowari engaged in a stare-off. Later that day, Saru set up shop outside to sell Banshu merch featuring Akino as the model, and when Mowari found out, she arrested him. She then held a meeting with the rest of the disciplinary committee to discuss what to do about the Banshu gang and Akino, who happened to be there, suggested that they not jump to conclusions about Akino, and this made Mowari wonder if she was too hasty to judge Akino. Unknown to them, Masa was outside listening to them, so he went to the infirmary to speak with his boss and Fujishiro. The Yakuza boss wanted Akino gone, but Masa thought it was the wrong move. When Ren discovered their secret meeting, she confronted them, but Mowari's arrival allowed them to slip away. Mowari admitted to Ren that she felt bad for leading a witch hunt against Akino, but Ren comforted her and told her not to feel that way. She said it was normal for one to be suspicious of unfamiliar things or persons, and promised to counsel the Banshu gang about their unruly behavior. Just then, the class president came to inform Mowari that the others had gone to confront Akino. At the same time, Akino told the girls she wasn't interested in fighting with them. As she turned to leave, the idiot guards showed up and swore their loyalty to the disciplinary committee. They then tried to attack Akino, but Mowari showed up and stopped them from fighting, before setting some cats on them. After a few minutes, Ren arrived, and after she talked everyone out of fighting, Mowari apologized to Akino for judging her hastily, and Akino assured her that she was forgiven. A few days later, the class went on a field trip, and Sun's father seemed way more excited than the kids were. As they went around the city visiting tourist sites, Akino took notes, but refused to engage in the activities. Seeing her standing alone, Nagasumi approached her and offered to check out the place with her. Akino agreed, but made it clear that she was a real lone wolf because of the nature of her job. As they walked and chatted, Nagasumi learned that Akino wasn't some emotionless robot, because she smiled and laughed from time to time, just as she admitted that she wasn't sure she could trust him not to walk her into a trap because of his ties with Sun. Meki shot at them. Quickly, Nagasumi took on the role of a human shield, hoping to prevent Akino from getting wet. Despite this, Maki still got her wet, but she managed to maintain her human form for a while. which surprised Nagasumi. Sun later discovered Maki, where she was hiding, and the shrimp panicked when she noticed that her mistress was mad. After Akino dried herself off, Nagasumi tried to explain that he hadn't had a hand in what Maki did, but she refused to listen and said he betrayed her trust. Later, during dinner, Sun talked to Akino and begged her not to be angry with Nagasumi as he was innocent. After dinner, the students went to take baths, and as usual, Saru tried to convince the boys to spy on the girls. This time, they only listened through the walls and would have remained with their ears glued to the wall if Kai hadn't walked in. The dense idiot went ahead to take a bath with his spacesuit on, and this had the boys wondering if he'd been dropped as a kid. After their bath, Mawari and Nagasumi were walking to their rooms when they passed by a room where Akino and Sun were in a very compromising position. Akino promised to teach Sun to control her transformation, but Mawari, who hadn't heard this, assumed they were doing something naughty. She made sure to follow them to the bath to catch them in the act, and lost it when she found them in another compromising situation. On the other hand, Nagasumi was surprised to see that they were still in their human forms. However, he still pulled Mawari outside. The girl insisted on returning inside to stop what she called an unholy union, but Nagasumi convinced her to give up on her quest. Afterwards, he went to speak with Akino privately, and she instructed him to end things with Sun, promising that his life would be spared. To her surprise, he refused and even apologized for the Meki incident, saying it had destroyed their chances of becoming friends. Akino told him she understood it was a misunderstanding and told him to do a better job next time. Later on, Akino met with her supervisor, and it was revealed that her true objective was to break up Nagasumi and Sun. The following day, the students visited a period drama filming location, and Akino enlisted the Yakuza boss's guards and Kai to help with her mission. Elsewhere, Nagasumi and the others ran into Luna, who was there shooting a period drama, and she invited them to watch her work. However, when they got to the set she was filming, they found that everything had been trashed, and one of the staff explained that some delinquents had attacked all the actors. As a result, they had to put the filming on hold, and after hearing this, Luna began lashing out. The next moment, Edome arrived on a helicopter and dropped off $1 million on the set. He then told Luna's manager to cast Nagasumi and the others as the replacement actors so that the filming would continue. As everyone except Nagasumi became excited about this sudden shot at stardom, Akino showed up with the guards and Kai and said they also wanted to be in the film. Luna saw no problem with this and agreed to let everyone join the crew. Before they went off to change, Kai distributed drinks for everyone, but Nagasumi refused to drink one given to him because of his previous experience with mermaid drinks. This was a good decision because Akino revealed to the guards that the juice was a secret mermaid medicine, which unleashed the true desires of whoever consumed it. She hoped it would show Sun the ugliness of humanity and push her to end things with Nagasumi. While she was still speaking, they'd offered her the drink and she didn't realize what it was until it was too late. The three idiots had also consumed it, and this pissed her off beyond measure. Later, while waiting for the shooting to begin, Kai suddenly grabbed Nagasumi and held him in place so that Akino could cut him. However, because she'd consumed the drink, her desire to gain affection from Nagasumi took over, and she began acting out. Coincidentally, her supervisor happened to be on the ground to witness it, but he didn't know what to do. In another part of the set where Nagasumi sought shelter, he was dragged into a room by Luna, who started beating him unprovoked. Fortunately, the timely arrival of Mawari saved him, but the girl was also under the influence of the drink and wanted to deliver judgment on him. Nagasumi ran for his life only to get entangled with the class president, whose desire was for people to say her name. Soon, he found himself trapped by Akino and the guards, but when Saru suddenly attached himself to Akino because he desired to touch her plots, Nagasumi escaped. However, no matter how much he ran, his pursuers still found him, and just as he was about to give up, Sun appeared and used her howling voice. Akino was unharmed and tried to attack Kazan, but her supervisor arrived just in time to knock her out, ending the chaos. The following week, after they returned from their trip, the students gathered around the notice board to select the photos they wanted to have reprinted. When Nagasumi and Sun returned to class, they found a depressed Luna, who lamented the fact that she'd missed the entire trip because of work. While she was taking out her anger on Nagasumi, Edome showed up and watched through the window. When Nagasumi saw him, he went out to speak with him, and the man admitted he was worried about Luna. He said he'd failed to keep his wife happy, which was why she left, so he wanted to do everything to keep Luna happy. Nagasumi told him that he didn't need money or expensive gifts to do that because all Luna needed was his love. He advised him to go inside and cheer Luna up, but when he did, the girl angrily kicked him out because of his poor choice of words. Refusing to give up, Edome returned home that night and searched the internet for things that girls of Luna's age would like. The following day, he showed up dressed as Sailor Moon, shocking the kids. Luna demanded to know why he was flaunting his cultured fetish in public, and he surprised her by responding like a girl. This left everyone mortified, and Luna immediately ran off, refusing to stand there with her embarrassment of a father. Later at school, Edome's threatening presence scared the kids beyond measure, and it didn't help that he was dressed the way that he was. The Yakuza boss came in to scream some sense into him, but Edome was so committed to his role that he never once broke character until they went to speak it privately on the rooftop. When asked when he became an Okama queen, Edome answered that he was doing it to get closer to his daughter. He likened it to the Yakuza boss becoming a teacher to be closer to Sun, even though he still didn't understand her true feelings. He then offered him a copy of a gal's game and advised him to use it to learn more about how his daughter felt. The Yakuza boss took this treasure back to the teacher's office and played it while Masa and Fujishiro watched. The next day, he and Masa began acting like Edome, leaving Nagasumi shocked and the girls to contemplate skipping town. Ren had to intervene at school and tell Kato the men about how their behavior was affecting their daughters. She told them to man up and behave like fathers were supposed to, so they apologized. However, they got thrown off the roof with the howling voice because the Yakuza boss placed his kitten ears on Sun's head. The following day at school, Nagasumi discovered a love letter in his locker and quickly rushed to the bathroom to read it. He was so happy to receive a love letter for the first time in his lonely, miserable life that he kept smiling even after he got to class. Curious, the girls asked if he'd won the lottery or something, but Nagasumi refused to spill the tea, and this annoyed Luna. After she pummeled him to the floor, Maki showed her the letter since she had swiped it from his pocket. Luna became more enraged after reading it, and her screams attracted their classmates, who were surprised to learn that Nagasumi received a love letter. Another surprising thing was that Sun returned the letter to Nagasumi's pocket and placed his head in her lap. After school, Luna and Sun hid in the bushes next to the incinerator, where the sender had asked Nagasumi to meet her in her letter. After waiting a while, Sun tried to leave because she wanted to trust in Nagasumi, but Luna wouldn't let her. Just then, Nagasumi showed up, and to everyone's surprise, Edome came out of the incinerator, as he revealed that he was the one who wrote the letter to test Nagasumi. The Yakuza boss joined him and ordered Fujishiro to eat Nagasumi. The next moment, Sun used her howling voice and knocked everyone except the fathers and Nagasumi out. The Yakuza boss swore that he was trying to protect her from Nagasumi, who was a cheating scumbag, and then moved to attack him. The boy dodged his attacks, so Edome joined him, and as they tried to hit Nagasumi, Ren appeared and beat them up. She then dragged her husband away, so Edome continued attacking Nagasumi until Luna dragged him away as well. Nagasumi tried to explain his side to Sun, but she assured him that she understood his actions and wasn't angry. The next day, Nagasumi dropped by the infirmary to confide in Ren because he felt bad about the whole letter incident. To help him feel better, she gave him a magic potion, which caused every female who saw him to see him as their dream man. However, it had the opposite effect on guys, and this caused so many problems that he had to run away from school. The following day, he discovered another letter in his locker and panicked. So after school, he went to hide in the bushes to see who the sender was. The Yakuza boss and Maki were also there because Maki had found the letter. To their surprise, it was the class president who showed up, but she had removed her glasses and let down her hair so Nagasumi would only recognize her as the girl from the park. The only problem with this was that she couldn't see that the person she was confessing to was Sun. When she realized her mistake, she became embarrassed and suddenly transformed into an Amazon before riding away on a herd of elephants. That weekend, Luna approached Sun and asked for her help to practice for her next movie. Nagasumi offered to do it since it was a story about a couple, but Luna refused, saying he wasn't worthy of even playing her pretend boyfriend. The following morning, when Nagasumi came down for breakfast, he nearly had a heart attack when he saw Sun dressed as a bearded man. She said she wanted to embody the role of Luna's dream man, who had to be manly unlike Nagasumi. On their way to school, they met Saru, who ran away screaming after seeing that his soft-spoken son was now manlier than he'd ever been. As they continued walking, they came across a street cat, which manly Sun insisted on fighting to protect her girlfriend. In the end, she took the cat and ran off to God knows where, leaving Nagasumi and Luna shocked. When they arrived at school, she announced to the class that she was looking for someone to play the role of her boyfriend, causing the boys to lose their minds. Soon, the pro-Luna faction elite guards came to assist Luna with the selection process, but the pro-Sun faction, led by Kai, suddenly showed up. Thankfully, before another war broke out, Sun returned in her manly attire and announced that she was Luna's boyfriend, so everyone gave up. Later at home, Luna lamented the fact that she still hadn't rehearsed for her movie and blamed Nagasumi for it. Just then, Sun came out of the bathroom and continued acting like a thug, so Luna pulled off her fake beard, saying she was done with the role. She told them she'd focus on her next job, which was a talent show, and asked Maki to be her partner because she wanted to do a ventriloquist show. Maki refused since she never liked Luna, but Sun pleaded on Luna's behalf and got her to agree. The next day, Luna tied Maki to her hand and placed a doll, which resembled her over it to make her ventriloquist display look real. At school, all their classmates praised Luna for how real her ventriloquist is. She had Maki do impressions, but the stubborn girl decided to take things into her own hands and said something which pissed Luna off. This caused them to fight, but Sun's intervention made their classmates believe it was all part of the show. Later, Akino called Luna to the rooftop and told her not to do the show because Maki could be exposed, but Luna refused. Akino had to enlist Kai's help to stop her from going to the studio, and Nagasumo also tried to talk Kei out of it, but Luna refused to listen. Seeing her determination, Maki helped Luna escape, but as they were about to get in the car, they spotted Akino and Sun fighting on the rooftop. Maki immediately became enraged and charged at Akino to help Sun, forgetting that she was dragging Luna along with her. The result of the recklessness was Luna passing out and remaining unconscious for 3 days. Following this, Akino went with Sun and Nagasumi to speak with Masa, because she learned that he was the one who trained Sun to handle a sword. She asked where he'd learned his sword style from because it was her family's style, and Masa admitted that he didn't remember. He suffered from severe memory loss and didn't know who he was before joining the Sato clan. Akino was unhappy to hear this, so Nagasumi questioned why that was. She explained that she had an older brother who went missing while carrying out his duties as an inspector, and she'd hoped that he was the one who taught Masa their family's technique. Nagasumi sympathized with her after hearing this, but she surprised him by saying she only wanted to find her brother to punish him for disgracing their family. She then asked Masa to try recalling something from his past, but Masa told her it was impossible. However, he said he got some flashes whenever he held a sword. This prompted Sun to suggest that he practice kendo to try jogging his memory, and Masa agreed. Just then, Nagasumi was pulled aside by the Yakuza boss, who had been listening to their conversation. He revealed that he had met Akino's brother 10 years ago, but had attacked him when he got drunk, causing him to lose his memory. This made Nagasumi realize that Masa was Akino's older brother, and it was because of the Yakuza boss that he lost all of his memory. Now he wanted Nagasumi to help him stop the girls from jogging Masa's memory and revealing the truth. They then went to the kendo hall, where Masa and the girls were, and when Nagasumi saw that Akino wanted to hand over her family's sword to Masa, he rushed in to stop her. This earned him a good beating, but he continued trying to stop Masa from taking the sword, which confused everyone. In the end, the Yakuza boss stepped in and started beating Masa, so Akino rushed in to stop him, but got caught in the beating. The heavy blow she received caused her to lose her memories and her mind to revert to a child's mind. At the same time, the heavenly blows Masa received helped him to unlock his memories. However, he didn't feel he was worthy of being Akino's brother. His former self managed to convince him that even though his identity had been born of a lie, he was still the same person, just that he had more people whom he cared for. He encouraged Masa to continue being himself even though his memories had returned and bid him farewell. When Masa came out of his mind, he went to find Akino and embraced her, but she rejected him, saying he wasn't her brother. To rectify the situation, Sun tossed Akino off the roof, and when she woke up in the infirmary later, her memories had returned. However, she didn't remember the truth about her brother. Meanwhile, Masa told Nagasumi and the Yakuza boss that he was okay with the way things were and wanted to continue living with the Sato clan. The following week, Kei dropped by the hospital to get some medicine, and as he was leaving, he ran into Nagasumi and the others. They asked if he was sick, and he said he had a mild cold, but the way he behaved made them suspicious. After he ran off, promising to see them the next day, Mawari declared that she would find out the truth. The next day at school, she followed Kai everywhere, pretending that she had stuff to do in the places he went. The only place she couldn't follow him into was the boys' bathroom, where it was revealed that Kei's sickness was actually butt acne. The medicine he'd gone to collect the day before was a cream to help with the problem, and he didn't want anyone to know because it was embarrassing. As he was in the toilet, Nagasumi and the others were in class speculating what type of illness he had. Mawari made a joke about it being butt acne, but Saru said Kai would never act that way over something so insignificant. Later, as he walked home, he passed by the hospital and overheard a doctor and a nurse discussing Kai. Curious, he hid by the wall to listen, but because he didn't stay to the end of the conversation, he left thinking that Kai had a life-threatening disease. When he found Kai on the rooftop, he told him that he knew the secret he was keeping, and Kai told him not to tell anyone, especially Sun. The following day, Saru doted on Kai and screamed at anyone he felt wasn't being nice to him. Unable to keep quiet any longer, he dragged Nagasumi out of class and told him that Kai was dying. Nagasumi then returned to class and gave Kai photos of Sun and invited him to have dinner at his house that night. The girls found his behavior odd, but when they pointed this out, Nagasumi screamed at them. In the end, they told everyone that Kai was dying, so the Yakuza boss arranged a farewell party for him. Kai was confused by their behavior, but Saru told him that it was because they loved him, so he became happy and enjoyed the party. Then news of his impending death also spread to the entire city, but Kai assumed that the people had come out to greet him because they had finally noticed his brilliance. It wasn't until he was in his submarine watching television that he discovered that everyone thought he was dying. Immediately, he rushed to find Saru to confirm if it was true, because he truly believed he was dying from his butt acne, and Saru told him that it was. Following this, Kai challenged Nagasumi to a duel, which he lost and started crying about. He complained about not having real friends or someone who loved him, so Saru rushed over and told him that he loved him. Kai thanked him for his kind words and then fell back in the ground so he could pass out in a very dramatic way. The next day, Kai was welcomed to class with a punch from Nagasumi because everyone discovered that his terminal illness was butt acne. Kai argued that it wasn't his fault that Saru spread misinformation, so Nagasumi took off his helmet to mess with him. That weekend, Akino and her supervisor reported to their top boss, a royal mermaid named Yoshio, and it was revealed that he wanted Sun for himself. He instructed Akino to invite the Seto clan to a party he was throwing, and Akino accepted the invitation. Meanwhile, Nagasumi was at home watching reruns of his favorite show when Sun approached him to complain about him not putting his laundry properly in the washer. This simple conversation soon escalated, and they had an argument, which made Sun walk away angrily. The following day of school, things were tense between them, and their classmates noticed. Mori asked Sun about it in the bathroom, and when Sun confirmed that they argued, she assured her that he would apologize soon. In class, Saru informed Kai about Nagasumi and Sun's fight, and immediately the annoying brat went to encourage him to keep up the good work. When Sun returned, he tried to convince her to divorce Nagasumi, but Akeno arrived just then and hit him with her sword. She then took Ace into the infirmary, where the rest of the Seto clan members were waiting, and gave them Yoshio's invitation. The Yakuza boss didn't want to attend because he considered Yoshio to be a pompous nobleman, but Sun said she wanted to go, so he changed his mind. That night at home, Luna gloated over the fact that Nagasumi and Sun were arguing and told him that she would happily accept him as her slave when Sun finally dumped him. Suddenly, she started beating him up, and when Sun walked in to find them, she didn't try to save him. The following day, Nagasumi learned from his mother that Sun had left with a small luggage and wondered why she hadn't told him she was leaving. When he got to school later, he learned that all the Seto clan members were absent and began worrying. Later, Kai approached Akino to escape where the Seto clan members had gone, but she refused to tell him, so he had his people find out. He told Akino that it was suspicious that only the Seto clan had been invited to the party, and before she could respond, Luna showed up. She revealed that Yoshio was a womanizer and said she was sure he'd planned the party to do something to Sun. Kai then declared that he was going to save Sun, and Luna said she'd go with him. Akino tried to stop them, but Luna told her not to underestimate the power of friendship. Before leaving, Luna asked Kai if he'd take Nagasumi with them, and Kai said it was up to Nagasumi to decide. Speaking of Nagasumi, he was going around reminiscing about Sun and the time they spent together. When he got home and found her ring, he sat on her bed and started crying, begging her to return to him. Meanwhile, the Seto clan arrived at the venue of the party and discovered that they were the only ones in attendance. When Yoshio joined them, he released sleeping gas into the room, and all the Seto clan members passed out. On the surface, Mori found Nagasumi moping and managed to comfort him in her way, just as he resolved to find and make up with Sun. Kai's submarine emerged from the water, and Kai told him to get on board, saying they had to go save Sun. As the submarine moved to the depths of the water towards Yashio's palace, they encountered mines, which Luna destroyed with her howling voice after they took a few hits. In the palace dungeon, the Yakuza boss tried to break out, but the walls were made from a material his fists couldn't break. Meki tried using her shell gun, but that also did nothing. So the Yakuza boss angrily punched the wall for the last time, hoping for a miracle. Meanwhile, in another part of the palace, Yoshio was having a party with his friends, and he bragged to them about Sun being his new bride. He then ordered Akino, who was his personal swordsman, to go and ensure that Sun was ready for the ceremony. Akino left without any arguments, but when she got outside, she slammed her fist against the wall in anger. Just then, Kai's submarine crashed into the palace, causing the building to shake and Yoshio's friends to worry. As the rescue team emerged from the submarine, they met Yoshio's security team, so Kai ordered his men to attack them. As both sides fought, Luna came out and began singing the Song of War, which quickly turned things around. She then told Nagasumi to go and look for Sun, so he rushed to where Yoshio was. When he got there, he demanded that Yoshio return Sun, but the royal refused and called Akino to get rid of Nagasumi. Akino was reluctant to harm Nagasumi, so she asked him to give up and leave, but Nagasumi refused and managed to convince Akino to side with him. Seeing this, Yoshio summoned a large eel to eat both of them, but that didn't happen because the Yakuza boss and the rest of the clan arrived to help them. Yoshio then called his defense squad to handle the situation and left to meet Sun. As the fighting intensified, Luna, Kai, Saru, and Edome arrived to help. Ren tried to convince Nagasumi to leave, but he refused, saying he wanted to save Sun like she saved him. Hearing this made the Yakuza boss acknowledge him for the first time, and everyone helped Nagasumi reach the room Sun was in. He tried calling out to her, but she didn't respond, so Yoship admitted that she was in a trance induced by a special gas. He then started beating Nagasumi up, but Nagasumi refused to give up and kept talking to Sun until his voice reached her. After breaking out of her trance, Sun began calling Yoshio out for what he was, and he got angry, so he shot at her. Nagasumi immediately rushed in front of her and caught the bullet with his teeth before he suddenly powered up, surprising them. He claimed it was the power of love and then proceeded to beat Yoshio, who transformed into a catfish when he passed out. When he eventually woke up, there were cameras in his face as everyone wanted to photograph the disgraced royal. Meanwhile, Nagasumi and Sun apologized to each other, and after placing her ring on her finger, he professed his love for her and asked her to remain at his side, to which she said yes as they hugged. Do you think Keith the Yakuza boss would allow the couple to have a happily ever after, or would he continue being a sausage blocker? If you enjoyed this video, comment loser Yoshio. Also, check out this next video right here.